G'day, Josh here with another Call of Duty mobile video, and this one is going to be all about 2v2 Showdown, a brand new multiplayer mode which I'm enjoying immensely. So I want to bring you the 5 best tips to win more of these 2v2 Showdown games. You can see that I've got Showdown matches running in the background. I've been playing this a ton recently, and it's really interesting, and here are my top 5 tips on how to win more 2v2 Showdown. So the first one, kind of self-explanatory, but might be more relevant to those that are newer to the mode. Know the rules. You need to know all of the rules in their entirety. Obviously, if you kill both opposing players, you win the round, but you do only have 40 seconds to get that done. And if there are still players on both sides alive, then it will actually go to an overtime. There's a 10-second capture the flag period. That flag will always be in the middle of the map, whether it is cage or kill house. And if you do capture that flag, you win the overtime, you win the round. It's a very quick capture, only about 3 seconds to capture. But if no one captures that flag and the overtime period expires, the team with the most health remaining wins the round. And that's important because health does not regenerate in this mode, which is another rule that you'll immediately learn as soon as you start playing. But if you're going into your first game and you didn't know that, it's very useful to know. You do not regenerate any health. As soon as you take damage, it's gone for the round. If for whatever reason a round was to end in a draw, then neither team wins that round. And of course, it is the first to 6 that wins the match. So you can use that to your advantage. Often in the final 10 seconds of regular time, so once 30 seconds has passed, 10 seconds left until overtime starts, I try and get in a position where I can observe or make a quick play on the flag. If I have the bigger health total at that time, obviously I don't need to force the issue, but I need to be able to quickly kill an enemy that tries to capture that flag. If I do have less health, or if I'm in a really bad 1v2 situation, then sometimes running in there and surprise capping that flag if they're not expecting it can be a great way to win that round. Now, point number 2, and all of these are essentially as important as each other, but I've tried to rank them, I guess, from most important to least important, but they're very similar. Number 2 is communicate. Ideally, you are playing with a friend and you're on voice comms, whether it's through the phone or through Discord or something else, over a voice call even. Having voice comms is super important. You want to be doing things like calling out where you see enemies, calling out the spots on the map that you've got covered. Even if you head left, for instance, on cage and you don't see an enemy, you want to be calling that out, calling out where you were when you died if your teammate is still up, things like that. Another really useful thing to be calling out: if you have died, let your teammate know whether they have more health or less health, because when they're the only one up, they're probably going to be fairly focused on other things and not be looking at that health bar. So if you let them know whether they have more or less health than the enemies, that can be super useful, because then they know how to play that overtime situation if it does get to that. So you want to be calling out as much as possible. Obviously, if you have died, you don't want to be talking too much. Let them focus, let them listen to those audio cues, which we'll get to shortly, but definitely let them know who has more or less health, and while you're still up, the direction you're looking, whether you are or are not seeing enemies, things like that. If you play regularly enough with someone, you'll get some common names on the maps, cage and kill house primarily for 2v2 Showdown, but you'll get used to what parts of the map are called, and you and your teammate will very quickly be able to know where enemies are. Even if you're playing without voice comms, you can still use like the in-game markers and things like that, little in-game voice prompts. Chatting is a bit slow, but it's another option there as well, the in-game chat, but you can definitely do that. And even if you're playing solos, queuing up with a random, same thing. If you can get on voice comms, even if they're not, they still might be able to hear you or still use the in-game cues, voice prompts, and things like that. That takes us into number 3. Use the entirety of your loadout. So every 2 rounds, you will spawn with a brand new loadout. Obviously, you, your teammate, and both enemies will have the exact same loadout. Make sure to check your primary, your secondary, and both of your tactical, your throwable and your tactical equipment, because it might be around where the secondary is is something that you're more comfortable with than the primary, or you might have a really strong throwable like a tactical, like a trip mine, or you might have a really useful tactical in a overtime situation like a smoke grenade when you're trying to capture the flag. So you definitely want to make use of your entire arsenal that's available to you. Trip mines are super useful. Rocket launchers also very, very useful. Number 4, and this is also quite a big one, listen to audio cues. Footsteps are super loud and they're small maps. So if you're paying attention and if you're wearing headphones, which is recommended, so you've got that stereo sound left and right, you can tell which direction an enemy is approaching you from. You can get unreal kills just on the audio information, and I've got plenty of those where it almost looks like I'm wall hacking, but I'm not. It's just that I have a very good idea of where the enemy is going to be coming from because I'm listening to their footsteps get closer to me from a certain direction. So that's a super useful one. And it's not just footsteps, it's gunfire, rockets going off, and things like that as well. And then finally, my 5th tip for getting more 2v2 showdown wins is keep your tactics super flexible. Mix them up a lot. Don't just keep rushing in on the left, down the right. Use the mid. Sometimes fall back. Maybe sometimes you want to go with your partner. It's a bit of an interesting one. You're stronger in a gunfight if it's the 2 of you versus 1 enemy. You're more likely going to trade that gunfight and come out on top. But the risk is if it's rockets or grenades involved in that particular round, the enemy could pick up a really cheap 2-kill. So you want to be aware of that and careful of that. And you don't want to, once again, you don't want to do it all the time. You don't want to be predictable. If your opponents are predictable, it's very easy for you to win because you can just react to what they keep doing over and over again, and you're going to come out on top. So you really want to, often what I'll do is I'll basically mix up rushing, hanging back, going mid, going with my teammate. You got lots of different options, and using the full variety of those tactics is going to make it really hard for your enemy to predict what you're doing, which is going to obviously help your results. So they're the most important 5 rules in my mind. Let me know if you've got some additional ones in the comments down below just to go over what they were once again. 1, know the rules so that you can best exploit them. 2, communicate, whether it's over voice comms or using the in-game prompts, but communication is key in this mode. Use the entirety of your loadout. Everything available to you is going to be useful at some point in time. Make sure you are listening to audio cues, and wearing headphones is the best way to do that. Footsteps give you so much information. And finally, mix up your tactics, keep things fresh, keep your enemy guessing. You combine all 5 of those things and you are absolutely going to be winning more 2v2 showdown games. Also, let me know in the comments down below what you think of this new mode. I absolutely love it, and I'm super addicted to it. I'm disappointed that it's only a temporary mode for now, but yeah, I'm playing as much as I can and really, really enjoying it. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope everyone is staying safe during these difficult times. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this in the future.